Why, howdy, partner. I'm glad to see you back here with me today. Last time we spoke, this handsome gentleman over here was just about to blow me up with a nuclear warhead. Let's see how he does. Oh, no. I'm afraid that just won't do, friend. You're a bit too slow on the trigger there. I suppose it's my turn now, isn't it? Very well. After much fighting outside, I decided to run inside the villa where I could watch them all die with some beautiful scenery around me. The Baron would be one of the first to go, of course. Oopsie. Her personal guard and soldiers were in complete shock and disarray after watching me turn her head into a canoe. Some of them continued to try to fight me off, but I would send their souls straight to hell for doing so. And after watching many of their comrades fall, some of them got a bit of a wise hair to them and ran away like the cowards that we know that they are. But you know me, if I'm anything, I am charitable, so I kindly would send all of their souls straight to hell after chasing them down as they were trying to run away. You know, this place truly is beautiful. The Shattered Empire is just absolutely dog shit in so many ways, but their architecture rivals that of even the organization. Sort of. And that is exactly why it pains me ever so much in my little black heart that I have to help them redecorate the villa. First and foremost, I think a bit of demolition is in order, don't you? Such a pity we couldn't just leave it intact and use it as maybe a base of operations, or we could put a giant organ farm here after we set up the labor camps after the invasion. Nevertheless, I just wanted something of a souvenir at the very least. Is that too much to ask for? I don't think it is. Well, speak of the devil, what have we here? Don't worry, little one, I won't kill you. Yet. I wanted an entire imperial villa as a souvenir, but I suppose a little imperial pet could satiate my appetite. Alright, little fella, you're coming with me, and we shall leave these horrific burning ashes of rooms to themselves. There's nothing here for us anymore anyhow. Nothing here for anyone. That's the plan anyway. Now with that behind us, we began heading to a nearby Neanderthal village. Not to worry though, we mean them no harm, as the tribes and what have you on these planets are really no threat to us at all, and thus we need a population to work in our labor camps and organ farms. I did however find it quite amusing that after all the devastation that we've been inflicting against this planet, one of its factions actually offered us a persona core, hoping to try and keep us from killing the rest of them, I suppose. Oh, you poor dumb animals. We would end up arriving at the Neanderthal camp a little bit thereafter. They must have been able to sense my dark, brooding, evil presence in their territory, as they all began to gather and huddle together in the center of their little town as if to try to protect one another. Poor unemployed little creatures will be giving you jobs soon enough. After arriving in the area, I got a bit worried for the health of my new pet, so I cut down a few trees and built him a small wooden cage. This will also help us ensure that he doesn't try to run away, not that we couldn't catch him, but I'm afraid if he did, I'd have to shoot him in the back of the head. Once we finally had his little box created and we stuffed him inside of it, I unfortunately noticed that he had an infection in his left leg. We don't currently have any medicine either, as there would be no use for it with all of my serums and implantations, and thus I thought it might be a good idea to go and ask the local tribespeople for some. Well, I would end up arriving in their village shortly thereafter, but for whatever reason, they immediately began trying to poke me with some large metallic sticks. Ignoring their advances to try to continue tickling me, I went about my merry little way. Since they were only interested in tickling my sides with their metal sticks, I decided to take it upon myself to go around building to building looking for the medicine. Eventually, I would stumble upon some, though it was the much less desirable herbal medicine made from some type of vegetation location on this planet. I suppose it'll do. I stuffed as much as I could into my pockets, and then I began heading back towards my little pet to ensure that he hadn't died. Luckily he hadn't, and I dropped the medicine off there. But I began to notice something. These idiotic Neanderthals, in their efforts to try and tickle me and make me laugh with their spears, had completely torn and ripped my cloak apart. Perhaps we don't need that many slaves for the labor camps after all. Besides, they're completely relentless. Something tells me they wouldn't even make me another if I asked. Very well, you barbaric brutes, have it your way. I immediately began to encircle them, firing my pistols at their massive domes. Lucky enough for us, they are shaped and they look similar to humans, which is something of a comfort to me as I'm quite used to hunting them down, but they are much larger, being Neanderthals, making it much easier to fire at them. This does also mean that they are much tougher than normal humanoids, but if you aim for the head, yeah, it's fine. Well, hello there, handsome. That sure is a nice coat you've got for yourself. You don't mind if I take it, do you? I mean, technically, you people owe me one, so now that is much better. To be honest with you, I had no idea that red was even my color, but my, do I look dapper. Ah, yes, our pet. I had almost forgot about the infection that's in your leg that's going to completely murder you. After a bit of quick surgery, thanks to my manipulation, we ended up finishing up a nice peg leg for him. Technically, we could have waited for the infection to have healed, but I don't have that kind of time. We've been on the planet for a whole week, and we haven't even taken it over yet. I'm long overdue. We would end up spending some time, though, trying to convince our pet to join us as our slave, because eventually he's going to become our slave anyhow, or we're going to murder him. We also went back into the Neanderthal village and freed all of their slaves, but don't mistake this for a kindness. They are much more preferable to the Neanderthal tribespeople that we had previously murdered, because people who are already enslaved don't normally mind staying that way when v.o.i.d comes to take all the organs. Speaking of which, a little bit of time later and I threatened to cut out our pet's liver with my bare fingernails, and he ended up joining us. Miraculous. Now, at the very least, we don't have to worry about him trying to run away all the time. If you're good, we might even get you a new leg. You know, maybe. But our work is truly never done. It was time for us to begin heading out to yet another Imperial settlement to try and murder everyone there and yada yada yada. It's going to be an absolute bloodbath, you already know. It appeared to be a pretty interestingly large military outpost with its very own mining depot and a supply station. No doubt critical and crucial to their infrastructure. Well, it's time to do what we do best and start reaping souls from their previous owners. Uh-oh, just as you would expect with a military installation, it would seem that they too have nuclear warheads. Looks like we're going to have to play on the side of caution in the beginning here. Well, that was a bit of a close call. We definitely need to get a new leg for our pet, otherwise next time he's going to end up as nuclear waste. Given the circumstances, I have decided to give him a battle rifle, but not to worry, as I could crush his head with my pinky anytime I wanted. Besides, I thought it's about damn time he started pulling his own weight around here, and he could do so by helping us out in the battle. I also really wanted to see the look on the other Imperials' faces when they saw one of their own trying to slaughter them. Ah, priceless. Our little pet would go about defending himself quite well, and for an Imperial, we were pretty impressed. Though I must say, we did end up having to save his ass a few too many times, at least more than I would like, but eventually, after killing many of these soldiers, they would finally begin to run away. And of course, by this point, I'm sure you've guessed, but we began chasing them down and killing them and slaughtering them and yada yada yada. You know, we couldn't just let them go so silently into that good night. There was the possibility, however, that not all of the Imperials had fled, so we began going building to building throughout the entire outpost, looking for any more of them to kill, as well as any useful items once more, but we actually ended up coming upon a throne room. Within was a very luxurious and gorgeous-looking woman with a golden crown atop her head. She appeared to be a Stellarch, a once very respectable and powerful leader within the Shattered Empire, before it shattered, that is. Now reduced to a pitiful stone throne room in the desert, it would seem. Not so powerful after all, eh? I will say, though, based on the technology of her augmentations and the fact that she's a sanguiphage, that this empire on this planet is probably one of the better branches that we've seen after its fall. Speaking of her augmentations, though, I noticed that she had an archotech leg, which was absolutely just what the doctor ordered. I wasted no time locating some medicine so that I could hack it off with my bare hands, and then finish her off as well. See you later, darling. I'm sure you geniuses have figured it out, but just in case you haven't, I'm actually going to install the Archotech leg in place of the peg leg on our little pet, and it went quite well. After this, we continued going throughout the outpost. At one point, I found a psychic suppressor. I thought I felt a little tickle in the back of my mind. Psychic-based weaponry, yet another example of how the empire of this planet is pretty technologically advanced compared to others, as most don't even have this. But it takes more than a little machine to break my brain. I would eventually find a very heavily guarded area in a small hill with plenty of turrets. After destroying those quite easily, I entered and I realized just why it was so heavily guarded. Well, 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 would you look at that? Quite the little nuclear stockpile you have here, Imperials. They actually had 8 fusion warheads just sitting on a shelf right next to an exploding turret. Well, it exploded after we shot it, which almost was a pretty bad situation. You know, throughout the cosmos, our enemies will always harness the power of an atom to try and destroy us. Perhaps it's time for a little bit of payback. Besides, it could really speed up the process of conquering this planet I'm behind anyhow. We decided to load up a mortar as well as the warheads into a truck that was nearby the outpost. We were faster on foot, but the truck could carry more, and it was less likely that they would know who was coming. After forgetting to get the footage of us traveling to the next Imperial settlement, we ended up arriving. Cue the bombing montage. Ashes, dust, flames, and nuclear waste. Nothing more, nothing less. You don't know how much joy it brings to my heart to turn the tables on them like this. All at the cost of a little bit of light radiation poisoning, even with my synthetic lungs and all of my implants and everything else. I still got a little bit sick from all of these bombs. And as you can see, we have absolutely 100% crippled, if not completely decimated, any type of hold that the Shattered Empire had on this planet at all. And since they were the governing power, the closest thing to a threat that we would have faced, now we are able to begin expanding. Of course, though, this is just the very beginning, a very small drop of blood in what is going to be a very large biological machine. There's still so much to do and so many more places to conquer, but I begin to wonder, this planet has a couple of moons. I suppose it's possible the Imperials could have bases there on those heavenly bodies as well, and if not, or even if so, perhaps we could build our own base. Well, I suppose only time will tell. Until next time, friends.